part 2, which is about types of networks. When we are looking at how we install and how we set up networks today, we are typically talking about two different types. It's either a local area network or a wide area network, a LAN or a WAN. We could also have something called a metropolitan area network, which is a MAN, which is something you can have within a city, for instance. You can have a wireless LAN, which is, a wireless local area network, and sometimes we can also hear the word SAN, a storage area network. But we will look into the LAN and the WAN options that we have. When we look at a local area network, it is something where you buy and install and set up the devices yourself. Like for instance, in your home, you can have a LAN. You buy the router or the switch, you set up the cables or the wireless networks, and you administer everything yourself. This is typically something that within a small geographical area. Like here at the school, we also have a LAN, which is of course larger than what you have at home, but it is a local area network. We buy the devices, we set them up, and we administer it ourselves. So that is basically a LAN. The bandwidth, the speed of the network is typically also high when we have a local area network. In comparison to a wide area network, where we don't really own the devices ourselves, we will make a connection to another provider's network, for instance our internet provider. So we rent the use of the network by our internet provider, and they decide how it's set up and how it's been administered. We just say that we want a certain amount of bandwidth and we pay for that. So this is typically when we want to have access through a wider geographical area, and also typically here we see that the bandwidths are slower, typically, depending on, of course, how much money you're willing to pay for it. And then we have the huge overall thing, the internet, where we have all our LANs and WAN connections connected into one huge network where everything in the world is connected into the same network, the internet. We can also have something in the middle, something called an extranet. This is, for instance, if we have a large company that have locations all over the world, they can be connected to an extranet, and also an intranet within the company, but I can connect my suppliers, my customers, my collaborators all to an extranet. And then of course around everything here we have the internet, which is the entire world connecting. So how can we get access to the internet? Well, there are different internet access options, also of course depending on where in the world that you are living. But if you look at your home or in small offices, well, we can have some kind of DSL connection, some kind of cable connection where we have typically using the television cables that are already there, and we can use that for the purpose of the internet connection. Cellular networks, the mobiles networks are of course also one option. We could have satellite if we are placed very remotely. We can have, the only option could be a satellite connection, and still some parts of the world we still have dial-up phone lines that we are using for internet connection. When we are looking at the businesses, it's more or less the same thing that applies here. You could have a leased line and a Metro Ethernet, or Metro Ethernet is actually just a fiber connection. If you have fiber into your that you use on your company to connect two different locations, you're typically using Ethernet as the connection between them. You can also, of course, have DSL or some kind of a satellite connection. And that was it. That was part 2 of chapter 1. Thank you.